Hey, we're live. A rare live episode of Metafix even. I don't do this often, but we've been having a number of technical glitches ever since, I took on the new job, which is already making it hard to make content. So right now, since, creating live content doesn't require the editing work and that kind of stuff in order to give you guys the goods, I decided to get things going on this. And I actually had a topic to discuss in regards to, this past weekend of WKOs and with future weekends of WKOs coming around the corner. Myself, I am sitting on a hard, maybe, possibly not, on the WKO in Michigan. But that means, of course, I've got to consider the current environment that the game presents. And there is an unfortunate element in that environment that we've talked about nonstop and still needs to be talked about, because the only people who've actually done something about it in their tournament realm is been The Rock. And that, of course, is the man on everybody's tongue, Mr. Felix Faust. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Felix Faust, he has been running rampant throughout the metagame for a hard number of reasons, one of which is that he's got the ability to basically shut down your ability to do anything for a turn in the right circumstances. Now, those circumstances actually sit on a D20, which doesn't seem like it's so bad, but then you think how many situations on that D20 do occur, and the number starts to get a little scary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Felix Faust so we can discuss all about him at face value, which is quite valuable information. And then we're going to discuss how we're going to deal with this guy and our options that exist. So here comes Mr. Faust himself. Now, Felix Faust is 80 points, 5 clicks of health, 18 defense with willpower, 7 range, mystics. Already a pretty decent package, but not a great 80-point package. He's got ignores hindering terrain and ignores characters for line of fire. He's got this Necronomicon trait, which we'll deal with in a second. Actually, we'll deal with it right now because in a second is when we're talking about what this is doing. Anyway, the Necronomicon, at the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6 that can't be rerolled. On a result of 1 to 4, roll his d20, and Felix Faust can use the indicated power until you roll it again. On a result of 5 or 6, you may choose to roll his d6. So you can choose not to. Now, or his d20 rather. Now, what this means is at the beginning of the turn, they roll. On a 1 to 4, they have to roll his die. On a 5 or 6, if they like what's there, they can keep it. And what comes up on those d20s is really the scary part. We're going to get into that right now. And that will start here. Now each face shows a symbol. You got the plus symbol, the improved targeting, improved movement symbol, the movement symbols, attack symbols, defense symbol, the damage symbol, the blank space, I believe that is. Yep. The any, where you can choose any face. Oh, no, sorry. Blank is actually listed as blank. I'm not sure. Oh, this is the white. Sorry, there is a white dot, an any dot, a red dot, orange dot, yellow dot, lime green, light blue, dark purple, pink, brown, black, and gray. All right. Now, each has its own powers that are worth mentioning. Seek the Book of Magics. Give Felix Faust free action. And we're just going to talk about the big danger ones. Give Felix Faust a free action until your next turn. Opposing characters within 7 squares may only be given ranged combat actions. Felix Faust must roll his d20 on his next turn. Now, this last part is great because it doesn't matter what they roll in their d6. This says you got to roll that d20. No option or no anything about it so long as you give that free action. Oh, no, actually it's a period, so you're going to have to roll it anyway. And it says characters can only be given ranged combat actions. And that doesn't seem so bad until you realize what constitutes an action. And when you're limited to one type of action, if it's bad timing, it's going to hurt. And I'll note that the HC Realms here does have the errata listed, so it's going to make it a little easier to discuss. Next, he's got for the foot movement, the green bell of Uthul. Give Felix Faust a free action. Until your next turn, opposing squares within 7 squares may only be given move actions. And then he's got to roll the d20 again. The Wheel of Nihilwrath. Give Felix Faust a free action until your next turn. Opposing characters within 7 squares may only be given close combat actions. And then he's got the defense. Give Felix Faust free action until your next turn. Action tokens are not removed from opposing characters within 7 squares. That's a timing one. I had it happen against me on the first turn. Thank goodness. Because that does nothing for you. I mean, by first turn, I mean second turn. Then he's got the damage power. Give Felix Faust free action until your next turn. Opposing characters within 7 squares may only be given free actions. Ugh. And then he's got the mystical trap. Now, right now, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 powers out of 20 that can be really strictly limiting. This one's a little bit more limiting, but that's only limited by the beginning of the game. Later in the game, this will be a nightmare if it happens to you. Anyway, then we have the on the white mystical trap. Give Felix Faust a power action. Choose one opposing character within 8 squares with the mystical keyword, and one other opposing character within 8 squares. Place a special mystical trap marker in a square occupied by each chosen character. Even if this power is lost, while a character occupies a square with a special mystical trap marker, that character can't move from the square. When a character who occupies a square with a special mystical trap marker takes damage from an attack, or all opposing characters occupy mystical trap markers, remove the special mystical trap marker. So now, in a lot of teams with Felix Faust does nothing, and then he sits on this mystical trap while your opponent's stuck on that mystical trap. And generally that's not a loss. Or I've seen also the use of Black Cats, 13-point mystical characters. There's a lot of low point options to facilitate this. Anyway, so we're now at 3, 4, 5, 6 powers that can potentially steal a turn, basically. I refer to this. I say 7 now because on the any, you can choose any of the powers on the D20. So 1, 2, 3, so 3, 6. We're at 7 out of 20. We're almost at 50%. We hit the red, give Felix Faust a power action. Each player places all friendly characters in their starting area. Affects the Felix Faust player, but it's less of an effect, which I'll discuss later. So we're now at 8 powers that can potentially take a turn away. Not only a turn, but this can almost take a full game's worth of movement away at the right time. The orange, give Felix Faust a free action. Place an energy dampener token on each opposing character's card. While an energy dampener token is on a character card, even if this power is lost, that character can't be given a power action, which you don't realize is very limiting until you need power actions. Remove the token from a character's card when that action is given. A character is given a non-free action. So, so often we rely on charge and running shot as things, but you got to remember those are power actions. If you get an energy dampener token, you can't take that power action. You can't just sidestep it off. You got to be given a non-free action. And that's another limiter. So we're at 9 out of 20 possibilities that can already just steal a turn, steal a whole bunch of actions away from you. Then he's got the yellow power. Now this one's very sick, and this is why the red power is disgusting. Give Felix Faust a ranged combat action. Choose a square, any square on the map, and make a ranged combat attack targeting all characters within 5 squares of the chosen square. Hit characters are each dealt 5 damage. So if your positioning is bad, or is how Felix Faust wants you to be positioned, you can deal 3 damage to your entire team on a bad day. And when you count out 5 squares from one spot somewhere in the middle of the map, you can get a lot of reach on that. Almost a 10-square reach if you actually look at it. Then he's got the lime green. All friendly characters can use a carry. That's not really a limiter. Just gives something for him. The green, not so bad. Blue, not so bad. He gives him barrier. Then the dark blue, place all speed values at 3. This value is locked. Uh-oh. So now we're at 10 out of 20 possible turn-stealing actions that you can take, which starts to get very scary because now we're looking at a 50-50. A coin toss will cost you a turn, and this is why people are afraid of him. And then he's got other things. You can use that wit. Here we go. Opposing characters can't be combat values can't be modified or replaced unless a replacement value would half the value. And then once per turn, Faust may roll a single d6. Blah, blah, blah. Not so bad powers. This gray one has been abused in specific situations, but you can really only steal. You can actually steal a turn from an opponent with a swarm team with this. So we're going to call this 10.5. The 0.5 being if they're playing the right team, and 1 with no effect at all. So 1 in 20 chance of him not having any effect on your team. some kind 100% chance or 19 out of 20 that he is going to do something, and in the right placement there's a 10 out of 20 chance, a 50-50 chance he's going to steal a turn from you, and that makes him very threatening in the game. So I just wanted to point out the threat level of this character before we get into what we need to get into, which is how do you plan for Felix Faust? And it's not an easy task, let me tell you. It's step one, you gotta find a way to outrange him. That's one of many options. A lot of people are looking and say, well, get 8 range. But then, you start to do things like you go through HC Realms, wonderful advanced search, and you go through, you select your modern environment, modern status characters, and their range is 8. Let's just say hard 8 range. You search that up, and your results come up with 121 characters. Not bad. Now, how many of these are good or playable? And that answer is not many, because some of them are things like Dormammu, who's a 300-point character or 250-point character. You've got a team base in the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which is 300 points itself. You've got the 150-point Doctor Strange from the OP kit, and you've got Firestar. I want to like Firestar a lot more. Mephisto, the new Mephisto is great, but outside of that, none of them stand out as fan-freaking-tastic. Like, once you start siphoning through that and say, okay, how many of them are less than this, you've got to overcommit already, just in pure point value, just to deal with an 80-point figure. And then you, of course, got to plan for the fact that they might have a possessor or an equipped character. That's a painful thing to have to deal with, because now you gotta add Impervious to the mix of things you got to get by on his initial 18 defense click. And then, he's got Perplex himself, so it's effectively a 19. So you got to find a way to cut through a really high defense on this character in order to kill him. Now, it is possible in a lot of circumstances to get rid of Faust, but you do have to remember the number 5. The number 5 is an important element when dealing with him. Deal 5 damage to Faust, and do it all at once. Don't give him a chance to recover from it. Don't give him any options. Give him nothing. Because if you take a turn, deal 3 damage to him, that's great. Next turn, he's got a 50-50 chance of taking your next turn away, so you're not going to have your follow-up turn on the next chance. And then it starts to spiral out of control, because all it takes is 1 turn lost for your opponent to do a ton of damage with no reaction. Unanswered points are a hard thing to deal with. So when you deal with Faust, it's got to be all at once. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be one action, but you got to get him gone as fast as possible. One option I came across a very lucky situation in the one game I played against the Felix Faust. My opponent didn't roll anything that particularly shut me down. He rolled the defense marker on it. This is Adam Cole. I played at the WizKids Open in Whitby. But what ended up happening is he had the Faust out there, but he did do 1 damage to all my Ultron drones, which is great, because Ultron Future has Close Combat Expert on his second click with 4 damage. So I went 1-1 because he didn't have any kind of defense thing on the Faust, and did 5 damage to Felix Faust. Done. Great. That's a 1 in a lifetime. Because I don't know how frequently that future Ultron takes damage. But then, you want to risk giving the future Ultron damage. But then you take that risk and you look at your opponent and go, uh-oh, he rolled yellow. Great. Yellow does 3 damage. 1 damage gets through on my future Ultron. Fantastic. So you don't want to rush the damage there. You gotta. I'm talking about the overthought process that it takes to deal with this figure. I also know, guys, I'm not going to deal with my opinion of the figure. That's another topic, another show. Metafix is how we deal with the problem. So step 1, deal 5 damage. Step 2, get that 5 damage to happen all at once. And be ready to deal with defense modifiers. Now, certain things do help you in the long term. With February 4th, WKO's out of the way, we go another week, and that other week does allow the entrance of TMNT Series 3. Sorry, I'm forgetting numbers. Now, if your opponent is packing equipment, and you're worried about it, there's a 50-50 chance you can get rid of it in Leo. It's up to you. Some teams can make use of them. I'm not going to hard stress that Leo is definitely going to be doing it. But those shredders do make a great option when combined with something like a Jean Grey, where beginning of the turn, you throw one of those shredders out with a Jean Grey, you're out 8 squares. The Faust wants to be within 7, right? So on the off chance that he hasn't rolled that thing yet or rolled anything negative yet, throw out a shredder, deal a free damage, try to go. Just try to get that damage through. And the less time that Faust spends on the board, the better. Now, I cannot, under any circumstances, guarantee that you're going to ever find a definite, going to happen, got Faust 100% of the time strategy. Because even the strategies of shooting him across the board with like Arcade, it's still only a 50-50 chance that you can do that, because that 50-50 chance is based on you winning the dice roll. And that's, because Arcade takes away theme bonuses, you guys are both rolling a face value. It's really hard to get that circumstance to happen for you. And I can't stress enough how much you as a player are going to have to understand that Felix Faust is definitely a thing that has to get dealt with. And you've got to be ready for him somehow, and planning for him the best that you can is the only hope. And of course, there is the second hand or the hand that's often bitten when referred to. If you can't beat him, join him. Faust is oftentimes his own worst enemy. If you can force your opponent to only be able to take a certain type of action in a right line or without line of fire and everything like that, and they can't take the free action to trigger their thing, that Faust gets an advantage over the other Faust. But then you have to be able to capitalize on that too. It's one of the reasons that a lot of people are starting to play Jakeem Thunder in conjunction with the Faust, along with Equippers, because that combination, you got Jakeem Thunder, who does so much so well, and then you've got Faust, who shuts down your opponents. So you have the only figure really doing anything on a team. I'm not personally the type who will use that. I'm still of the mindset that I can get him. I'm positive that I can get through the Faust storm. I've had my bad days against Fausts. I've had great days against Fausts. And it's really that you come down to a 50-50 chance of being able to do anything, and it's a matter of that doing anything actually meaning anything. So good luck, guys, in the future WKOs. I can't stress enough that you gotta put in the work, the thought, the planning to deal with him. Make sure you don't necessarily have to change your strategy, but make sure you do have the ability to get that Felix Faust in one clear go. And make sure that when you do, you're not caught off in a situation where they're just going to capitalize on all the work that you did anyway. And do your best not to overcommit. Overcommitting is probably one of the biggest faults that players run into when it comes to dealing with a figure on the level of Felix Faust. Felix Faust will, force you to go, oh my gosh, Felix Faust is going to stop my whole team. I got to get him. But then you overcommit to an 80-point figure and get caught trying to recover from that. Because if your opponent can score 100 points when you scored 80, you're down. That's just the thick of it. So anyway, I think I repeated myself enough and yapped enough. It's not often I can do Metafix without you guys not seeing my hard cuts or the canceled runs and everything like that. So I hope I got the information out to you guys in a sufficient chunk with the right kind of thought process put into your planning for WKOs. So again, good luck at those future WKOs, be it next week or the week after. And if you guys have any questions right now, the chat is open over there, I believe, if you're watching on YouTube. Or if you came here on the Facebook, throw your questions on there. I will give a couple minutes of ramblings. I will also, because I wasn't on Meta Lab this week, I guess it's time for me to share my story of the WKO in Whitby, which, first of all, fantastic venue. Every time they run in a church very close to their store, run by a great group of folks. And it was great to see my old friend Keith from the Comic Warehouse. He was a regular player there. It's good to see him again. Good to see Ryan, Jane, all the guys, and Michael, all the guys that do a fantastic job of running their events and making sure everything runs smoothly. It was so smooth this year. It was a great time had by all of us. It was 5 rounds. If you don't remember, if you haven't watched the Meta Lab, there it is. So 5 rounds of Swiss, cut to top 8. Very hard run, because 5 rounds is already a lot of hero clicks. Then if you get into the top 8, it's even more. Mike is the only one who suffered that one. That said, my team, if you've been watching for a long time, it was not very different from my Rock World Cup team. The only thing I really switched from that was I added a Superman, the wall break Superman, in case of Bizarro Green Arrow. That's really the only thing I added to my team. But just a rough rundown. What you see on the board is Devil Dinosaur, 2 Ultron drones, a future Ultron drone, and a Ultron 6. Jean Grey, Thug, a Mephisto. I think that's everything. Did I get everything? Devil Dinosaur, Mephisto, Jean Grey, Ultron, Thug. 6 figures on the board. And then I had a round table with a Constantine card, Superman ID card, a Green Arrow ID, a Hawkeye ID, Superman I already said, Shield level 7, and a Firestorm ID. Now, of course, the idea is Firestorm gets rid of equipment. Green Arrow is flexible long-range shooter. Hawkeye is an Ultron killer. It's the Age of Ultron movie Hawkeye from the starter set. The Green Arrow is the 85-point OP kit one that gets the arrows. The Firestorm is also the 115-point OP kit one. The Shield level 7 ID had a Nick Fury and a Hulk. The Hulk I had for a situation that I forgot to use it on a number of times, and I really kick at myself all the time every time I think about it. And Superman had three characters on the sideline. The Target exclusive Superman for when I hit critical clicks, the power number 3. The Superman Red in case I really need Pulse Wave, because it was really the most useful or available guy to get Pulse Wave from. And then the third one, Superman Wall Break Superman in case of Bizarro Green Arrow. Constantine had, of course, the Trinity Warren because he's the only legal modern age one for whatever number of months he's got left. The idea, of course, is that I'd speed my way to power number 2, give my team a mixture of Superman and Constantine, depending on what I need, and go from there. Round 1, I was up against local Emily. Played against her a number of times. She was playing her really cool Sunfire team, which Mike talked about on the Meta Lab. I managed to get a lot of important hits, which was really pivotal. One of which, of course, was Firestorm knocking off an equipment on the Age of Apocalypse Sunfire. It was Age of Apocalypse Sunfire and Johnny Quick. There's a Pandora's Box, and both of them are equipped. One with Brainiac, one with Eclipso. So, of course, better characters in that case. So I got the object off of Sunfire because he's the one that was able to go at range. Johnny Quick, I just kept my distance from Johnny Quick and forced a stretched out hypersonic. Because you got a strictly close combat hypersonicer. The trick is you force them forward so they can't get far out of that. And that's really how I played against that. I threw out Pogs. I threw out everything. I actually used everything my team had. I got the power number 3 and put out all the ID. I ended up having all the ID cards used against Emily, and I had to throw literally everything I had at her, and did manage to get her team before time. Which it was a great game. I love playing with Emily. She's such a good spirit, good heart. So focused on getting good at the game, and she's really creative when it comes to her team. So all the power to her. Next opponent, I believe, is his name was Jason Grace. Actually played against Amber in the first round and beat her Skullship team. He was playing Raphael and Michelangelo Chase Turtles, the Series 2 Leonardo, a Renatilli, and an April to up defenses. Very, very notable that he didn't have a resource, which all the power to you, man. That's great when you get when you get it. And I made the mistake of reading chat while I'm looking at the camera. Big mistake because you guys are funny in there. What was I? Oh yeah. So he moved up with his team because that's what he was going to do. Move up with his team. So what did I have to do? I had to deal damage to Renatilli. Renatilli had to deal damage. Now he won the dice roll because he had a theme team. Great. Which put us in the Turtles sewer lair. Not the one I want, the one he wants with the big square of untouchable terrain in there. So what I did was I threw a Ultron on a weird angle, Ultron 6 on a weird angle, had him walk through a wall with a sidestep and then he would call in Hawkeye in front of him. Hawkeye would get perplex on his attack from Mephisto, and then he running shot back one shot and made an attack against Renatilli, who was sitting in the middle of things. Hawkeye from the Avengers Age of Ultron starter set, guys, ignores characters for line of fire. So as you can imagine, I was able to get over that, deal 3 damage to Renatilli, which takes away her ability to carry. Important thing to do when you got a team like this, you got to take away, because a team like this is going to go in your face. You need to take out the thing that's getting the to them. So in this case, it was Renatilli. If you see a Vanisher on the board, deal 3 damage to him. If you see what's his name, Overdrive on the board, kill the Overdrive token, and then get 1 or 2 more damage on the Overdrive, because it needs to die. Once those things die, if you can keep the safe distance, then you're already gonna stop a lot of what they have strong, which is mobility, because they're a team that wants to get there, so you stop them from getting there. So at this point, once I had some damage dealt to the Renatilli, my opponent had to make some reaction moves in order to improve his position. I was able to throw another energy explode from Firestorm, I believe it was Green Arrow. Green Arrow threw an energy explosion on top of Renatilli, a character next to Renatilli and all the characters around that character, one of which was Renatilli, putting her on her. No, it was Firestorm because it only dealt 2 damage, and it put her on her last click. He had 1 token on the Renatilli, which forced him to say, push, get my guys up there, or just die. That was that. He actually said that. I was like, this is my options, so I'm going to push to get myself in a better position. It's what I would have done too, because he was in a lot of cases a sitting duck. So he got his characters up into a position that was notable. But I capitalized by just using the Jean Grey to throw Ultrons, took my time with this, and just kind of slowly picked away at his team. Because Michelangelo got to me at the end of the game, did manage to take out an Ultron drone. And then I was able to just kind of converge everything on him. He was able to make some big attacks with Raphael and Michelangelo, but unfortunately it couldn't culminate into anything that stuck per se. So it was a great game, and it was just a matter of just doing what my team does and methodically taking things out. My next opponent was Adam Cole, a guy I've loved talking to, love hanging out with, and finally got a chance to actually play him in a game. He was playing an arcade team. Arcade was one part of the team. Arcade, Brimstone, a full round table, a Felix Faust, 2 Ultron Future Drones, and an Overdrive. His goal, get Future Drones and Overdrive, takes the Future Drones and Felix Faust, puts them in your face. Felix Faust rolls the dice, stops you from doing anything, and then he slowly but methodically picks you off with Arcade and the drones and Felix Faust. Now, one of the great things about those drones, too, is that if you get them on their second click, they get penetrating poison along with sidestep, and they also have close combat experts, so they can do a ton of damage. So, anyway, on that, so what ended up happening is he got his guys up in my face, which is what he wanted to do. But he rolled the defense die, which I think I mentioned earlier today. The defense piece on the D20, but this was on my first turn where I was going to be able to actually react to him. So when he did that, it wasn't really going to have an effect on me. So I said, got to go now, got to go big. He did lead out, of course, with his Arcade, did an energy explode in the middle of my guys, which put both my Ultrons on their second click and did a ton of damage to my Jean Grey. Jean Grey, of course, is an engine that makes my team work, but is not something I rely upon. Because if my opponent is close enough to hit the Jean Grey, I'm in a dangerous spot already. So let's not fool ourselves, right? So what I did was I just, from the starting area, took the Ultron 6, called out Hawkeye, because this is kind of one of those things I do a lot. Then perplexed up Hawkeye's damage in this case, and put Hawkeye 8 squares away from Felix Faust, which meant that the 7 range on Arcade, which he's able to draw from his own characters. But he won map and he was on Arcade's map, so obviously this is why I have to deal with things like this. So I got the Hawkeye outside of the 8 in the 8 range, targeted both the Ultron future drones because I see over characters, and I ignore hindering for line of fire as well. So it's a great little double bonus from that character. Did 4 damage with that. Hit both Ultron drones. So what do? You deal 2 penetrating damage to both of them. Ultron drones are gone. So now it's just Felix Faust I got to deal with. Well, I have the Ultron future on his second click. So I send him forward with Jean Grey. It's do or die now. If this doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, this game's pretty much going to be Adams once one of those Faust dice hits. So I send out the Ultron future Ultron drone, go +1 to attack, +1 to damage, 5 damage on Faust, hits with a 7. Oh, thank goodness. I also, he probbed with Arcade, and it missed. But it's do or die. It's literally do or die because my Ultron drone is going to die from the missing damage in this case. So I use a contract token from Mephisto, roll, nailed the hit, and then Faust is dead in 1 shot. I breathe a sigh of relief. Now I've also got to put myself in a situation where Brimstone isn't going to come down on me. So what do? I TK the Ultron 6 with my Devil Dinosaur away from my Hawkeye so that Hawkeye goes away. Now, with the Ultron future dead and Hawkeye gone, he can't retaliate. And then at this point, I make a couple of mistakes which give him more of a chance to win at this point because I got cocky. Don't get cocky, kid. And I made a few blunders, didn't think my way through. I got to power 2, didn't choose a good power, or I didn't choose a Constantine to, punish a Brimstone coming down on me. All in all, there was not a whole lot. I was kind of relieved to deal with the Faust and didn't think about the rest of the team. So it was a little bit harder at this point, but I did manage to kill what was left there. And then I looked at it and said, he's got just the Arcade. I can calm down now because he's got no other figures. I kind of looked at it and said, we can call it or we could just sit and chat because I got the win. You've got to move forward and I can react. But then, we're friendly with each other. He's like, let's get the Nick Fury out of the way. It's like, okay, let's do that. So eventually kind of shimmied our way forward. Then Nick Fury came out to Arcade and we shook hands for one heck of an awesome game. My next game was up against Quinjet, played by Jimmy. I've never, in a bigger competitive tournament, had a closer game. Back and forth. There's so many good moves made by both of us in this game. We both turned around and said that was one of the best games of Clix ever. I did one of the most elaborate Nick Fury call-ins ever. Because I needed to deal 5 damage to Ant-Man before Ant Swarms got out of hand. It was ridiculous. And when the dust settled on the game, Jimmy had 185 points. I had 107. It was like, wow. Oh boy, what a game. You don't get games like that very often. And Jimmy, we have a bit of a back and forth thing. I've actually went back the other day thinking about our game, and I was like, it was Jimmy's turn because we back and forth on our regular versus. The first time I ever played against him, we played in a Nick Fury Agent Shield sealed. I won. The next time we played was in a local tournament, and he won. And then there was 2 he won. Sorry, he's actually won up on me a couple. Now that I think about it, because he beat me at least 2 times in a row at one point. Either way, we have a lot of epic games. None of our games are walks. None of our games are complete washes, except for one. Now I'm thinking about it. One was a complete wash, but that team was a wash. I went 0-3 that day. It was a pretty bad day. Anyway, I keep rambling. So Jimmy got the upper hand on me. So I was now 3-1. Going to the last round of the Swiss, I'm up against another Quinjet, played by Darren, I believe his name is. I can't remember his last name for the life of me now. One of the fellas from London. We played with him a couple times. Great guy. And this is another one of those tic-tac games. I couldn't squeak out a win on this one. Nothing. Eventually, I think halfway through the game, my dice just stopped hitting. And that was a big problem because I also lost my Mephisto. Losing the Mephisto cost me my dice. Not good. Long and the short of it is I was now 3-2 with a lot of points, and I got 9th place. I just missed the cut for top 8. Oh well. Played Battle Royales, ended up getting a whole stack of Con LEs. I got all 4 new ones, bunch of the bystanders. Then the only bystander I was missing was Eva, and I've got a deal hung up to get the Eva for myself, and really overall just a great experience. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, once again, throw them in the chat. I'll answer them, but it looks like we only got the one. I went on for a bit, so Metafix is usually just a fix. So but we got cool guy 111606. If you can end the turn back in your starting area, like with double TK hypersonic speed, should you risk taking out Felix Faust ASAP? Read the board in that case. If your opponent has a way to move the Faust forward fast, say that 3 times fast. Or Felix Faust forward fast. Say that 3 times fast. Felix Faust forward fast. Felix Faust forward fast. Don't do that. Don't do that at home, kids. If you see that opportunity for your opponent, kill the Faust right away. If you don't see your opponent having that opportunity, take your time. Because your opponent's going to have to do a lot of work to get him there in the first place. So again, pay attention to the board. Pay attention to their stuff as much as your stuff. Actually, I think I got to do another episode called Pets. Pay attention to their stuff. I'll do that later. Anyway, last call for questions, guys. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. It's been wonderful talking to you guys, talking at you guys. Yeah, we'll hopefully soon get non-live content going again. We think we figured out a fix. We just got to find a thing that's very small. And in the meantime, you guys keep it awesome. Keep trying out new ideas. Come up with all those ideas. Got to get ready because there's Faust out there, and you need your team to be better. You know what makes your team better? Practice. Practice makes your team better. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.